We are right here, pretty much. Right above where it says Bluefish River. Whoa. And where we just were, the collector, so don't worry about getting kidding. Did I mention I was a third boat driver this evening?
He called you an asshole, though. You deserve it.
Alright, so where we just were, can I just borrow yours?
Is there a history of piracy in this area? Because if you could integrate pirates into this story in any way, I would be forever indebted.
I can do a pretty good pirate.
That's not where I was going with that.
It's crushing. No, there's no pirates, sorry.
Son of a bitch.
So basically,
I'm not editing that.
This is Clark's Island right here. And I think I have the cow yard labeled on there.
True story.
Right kind of south of Clark's and Sakewish Head. So what we just did is we came out from Snug Harbor and we came way up into the back river up here. And we went across around Clark's Island and out to Sakewish and then back toward the branch here. I got the Rocky Nooks labeled also. But basically, you have this massive rush of water coming in through this little inlet, which we were right near at Sakewish. It goes from 180 feet deep out here to about 30 and then nothing right here in the course of half a mile. So you have this like suck of water, and it sucks up really cold, salty water, much more so than anywhere else in the cave. You know, in Dennis or Falmouth right now, the water's 78 degrees. Here it's 63 probably. So cold, salty water with food. Those are the three things that go into making up the flavor profile of an oyster. Is the salinity of the water where it's grown, the temperature, and the type of food that it has available. So we've kind of touched on all those things today.
What does the temperature do to the flavor?
It's not so much it's not an exact science. You know, we're not quite as like advanced as wine where we know exactly how the conditions affect flavor. But I think that the temperature actually has a lot more to do with texture than anything else. And you know, you get a much heartier, robust oyster out of a cold water oyster.
So like more dense.
Yeah, because exactly more dense, like that toothy bite. Yeah. Whereas a warm water oyster grows so fast that the meat isn't as mature. You know. So
I found a bologna in our batch of ICOs the other day, and I ate it.
Did you really?
It was disgusting.
They were bad from here.
Size of a bread plate too.
We tried to do it when we first got to the restaurant, when we first had it, but it just didn't work. That's a really good example actually of how, like, you always talk about terroir versus the species, you know, because the species, like our varietal, has its own kind of stock flavor characteristics and doesn't mesh well with the terroir. Here it doesn't. Up in Maine, it's a little better, you know.
That's what I hear.
Like they tried to grow bolognas out of Hog Island. They called them French hogs, and it didn't turn out very well. So they don't grow them anymore. But yeah, that's interesting. We do have like a pretty significant resident population of bolognas now. Kind of bio-invasive.
Yeah.
Left over from a project in Maine in the 70s. I actually met some lady at a cocktail party the other night in town whose daughter had been growing them here way back when. I was like, that's where they came from. But where was I? Oh yeah, so those are kind of three things. And so we literally take them right out of the nursery here or up in the back river, and we dump them out of the bags, and we go to plant them, like I said, you know, kind of like tossing them at a specific density. And for Skip's farm, that all happens right in this area, from that channel marker out to those orange buoys and then over to here. So that's about 10 acres. He's got another plot across further over towards the beach, but this is more or less where it all goes down. And it's just like any farm, we have kind of a rotating crop schedule, so that there's certain acreage devoted to the nursery, certain acreage devoted to new seed in the fall, certain stuff for the crop we're currently harvesting, and then for the crop that we're about to be harvesting after we finish the current crop. So it all kind of rotates.
It's like a 2-year process, or
it's 18 months to like when you first start selling the oysters on the market. But yeah, more like 2 years really until they're nice mature animals. So anyhow, after we plant them on the bottom, the whole challenge with that is it's great for flavor and it's great for quality and blah blah blah. But the pain in the butt is that one, you never know how many you actually have that are alive and ready to harvest, and two, you have to come out and get them off the bottom. And we have two ways of doing that. One is when it is low tide, this is all mud, so you can walk out and just pick them. You know, we pull the boats up here and just bend down and literally pick them off the mud. They're not like clams where you have to dig them out. You know, again, it's that tide swing. You can be standing in the mud at low tide, but at high tide, this will be 10 feet deep. So the other way we go out and get them when the tide is higher is we drag for them. And I'll show you a dredge when we get back to the Oysterplex. But basically it's a little basket that we drag behind the boat and it picks up the oysters as it goes. And then we use this arm that you're asking about, this hauler, to actually haul that dredge up and out of the water. We dump them in and we bring them to the Oysterplex for processing. And that's where we're going to go next.